I just finished Stalker 2, and this is my first time playing the Stalker game, and GSC has created something immersive. You know what? Looking a little hungry, little guy. Why don't you eat on that while I talk about Stalker 2? Go on, take a little bite. Stalker 2 is an open-world post-apocalyptic first-person shooter created by GSC, a studio that took 15 years to release the next installment to their franchise. You enter the Chernobyl exclusion zone, known as The Zone, a place full of radiation, supernatural anomalies, and a lot of mutants. The game offers branching paths, and after finishing the game twice, I can confidently say that the decisions you make will actually affect the relationships with factions, how missions play out, and the types of locations and people you'll see. For example, once you choose one faction over the other, the story will immediately branch off. To enter the base, one faction will send you to a bunker to investigate and get information. After that, you'll get a code to sneak into the fort through the sewers to do what you need to do. Now, if you choose the other faction, they'll just have someone waiting outside the fort to let you in. And it doesn't end there. You'll be sent to different bases through unique paths with completely different missions. And when the story eventually does converge, characters' attitudes and dialogue will depend on the choices you made leading up.
Skiff, good to see you.
This branching path format is used throughout the entire campaign, but the side quests could be a little bit more straightforward than that. You could either help people or you could kill them. There's no wiggle room around that. And to be honest, I like it that way. You don't need to make things complicated. Save all that stuff for the campaign. Sometimes I like getting into a gunfight after a conversation.
Where the shark succeeds, a loser bleeds. Die!
God, someone's killing Shark. Help the boss.
Take that motherfucker yourself.
I like the side quests, but there's something weird where some of the aspects of the open world relies on the side quests in a negative way. For example, I walked into this sewer tunnel and found nothing, but after talking to this guy, he tells me there's a stash hidden there, and all of a sudden it spawns in. That's no coincidence either. I looted this empty facility, wandered around for some time, got bored, and left. Side quests later on required me to go back to that area and talk to someone. Turns out a large gang was using the facility as a base, and they were pretty established too. Now, did it ruin the game? No. But it's weird that the open world refuses to spawn things in until somebody tells you about it. There's probably some dumb reason for this, but it just needs to get fixed. Unlike the random encounters and puzzles, which is a completely different story. It's independent from the side quests and the main story, and it's just waiting for you to find them. It makes wandering the wasteland so much more interesting. They actually enhance the open world experience and feels natural when encountering them. I like how the game has a large variety of open world activities, excluding the stashes, because they're boring and, spoiler alert, doesn't give you good loot. I'll tell you about this one funny encounter. This dude was stuck in a field full of some kind of electric-based anomaly. If you talk to him, he's going to ask you for help. No matter what you say, he'll follow your path out of the area, and when he does get... Ooh. Yeah, that was a bad example. He's dead as hell. Hey, sometimes he got unlucky. But if he did live, I would have gotten rewarded. You know, I haven't had a random encounter in this wasteland I didn't like. You know what? Speaking of wasteland, I want to talk about how beautiful this game could get. It's impressive how they integrated some of the anomalies into the environment. They're just supernatural things that no one can understand, and it gives the devs the freedom to create something amazing, and it never feels out of place. The desolate areas of the map also look really good. Sometimes creepy and sad, but that's the point. It's nice to feel some emotions. Now, I saw some people attribute the visuals to Unreal Engine 5, but to be honest, it's just a tool. It's visually impressive, but you can't get creative vision like this. You need to have some talent to create art. I just want the environment artists to know that I noticed your work and I appreciate it. Now, comparing Stalker 2's mechanics to other games is something I find pretty interesting. There's no skills, no classes, and there's no leveling. There's only gears and upgrades. And that's how it should be. You're a loot goblin looking for loot. Now, I did see some other people have some problems with the amount of loot you carry at one time. Not me. That's because I know when to drop my loot. You don't need to carry everything. I left drops all over the place, just piles of trash after every encounter. And since some people are having some trouble, I'll just give you a few tips I've learned that'll allow you to carry more trash around. You could eat sausages and drink energy drinks, but if you want something a little bit more effective, you're going to have to use artifacts. Now you just need a few powerful artifacts and it'll make the game 10 times more bearable. You'll be able to carry more loot, run for a longer amount of time, and there's other stuff too, but these are the two that we're focusing on. And if you don't have strong artifacts, you're going to have to start hunting for them. I ran around with a detector in my hand all the time. Oh, do you remember the guy that died? I forgot to tell you, but his reward is actually an artifact, so helping people is worth it. Don't make the same mistake I did by playing half of the game without using any of them. If you think that's stupid, I'd like to remind you that this is my first time playing a Stalker game. So let's move on to upgrades, another useful mechanic. You're going to be spending 90% of your currency on armor and weapon upgrades. There are some really important stats you need to pay attention to. For instance, carrying more artifacts at one time and lowering the weight of your gear. But other than actually increasing your weapon and gear stats, I wish every upgrade added something new to my gun. There are some guns that are a little bit more special than the ones you can find on bodies. Those ones are always on the floor or at the end of some random open world puzzle, so keep your eye out for them. Story time. One of the most memorable moments in the game happened in the swamp while I was walking towards the house, and out of nowhere, a monster dog just started assaulting me. I've never been more scared throughout the entire game watching my health drop this fast. I wanted to stay and fight, but Stalker 2's enemies don't play around. This thing whooped my ass over and over. Even sneaking around didn't work. Fighting the Chimera in the open was the worst place to do it. So eventually I decided to use the house, but the damn thing was irradiated and it was slowly killing me. So I ended up unloading as fast as I could. But even if I were able to kill him, the emission ended up rolling up during the fight. So with all possible outcomes exhausted, I did the only thing I could do. Drop my trash and consume some energy drinks. Hearing the Chimera right behind me as the emission storm was turning the sky red made everything feel so intense. Barely making it to the bunker felt amazing. Easily one of the coolest moments I've had. And it didn't end there. After completing the mission, I had to go back the way I came, right back to the Chimera. Instead of crossing the same bridge, I chose a direction that didn't even look like a path. Taking that unexpected path felt like I was carving out my own unique adventure, one that was entirely my own to discover. So, I told one of my friends and they thought that the whole Chimera situation would have been a negative and overall annoying experience to die over and over again. But I never felt like I ran out of options and there always seemed to be something I could do. And eventually, one of them did get me through it. You see, situations like that is what makes Stalker 2 feel like a Stalker game. And that's why I have 100 hours, and I honestly wouldn't have spent a single second if I would have listened to the early access reviewers. VGC gave it a 2 out of 5, and Skill-Up quit the game after only 20 hours. Their main complaint was the broken state of the game when it was given for review. The worst part is that GSC dropped a 140 gigabyte patch 48 hours before the embargo ended, fixing portions of the game that were big points in their review, essentially rendering some of their negative experiences null. On top of that, the contrast between my experience and the reviewers made me initially feel like the reviewers were blowing things out of proportion and intentionally painting Stalker 2 as an unplayable mess. Now, did my version of the game have bugs on day one? Yeah, but not to the extent described in the reviews. Their game crashed a lot, There was lighting problems and a really persistent audio bug. Skillup's early access playthrough compared to mine is a night and day difference. It's kind of weird to think that those reviewers played and judged the worst version of the game no one will ever be able to play. At the end of the day, that's entirely GSC's fault. I'm just glad my playthrough was in a much better state, allowing me to enjoy Stalker 2. That's why I'm giving it 4 out of 5 big booms. Boom, boom.